In a world obsessed with quick fixes and fleeting trends, what does it mean to build true generational wealth? Not just in dollars, but in something far more lasting. Money can be spent, trends fade, and possessions break, but the skills we pass down, the knowledge, the traditions, and the way we steward what we have, those things last. Real wealth is knowing how to make a meal from scratch, how to grow something from the earth, how to create instead of consume. It's about leaving behind something of value, something that can't be taken away. Wealth isn't just money. It's land, it's knowledge, it's skills that stand the test of time. I am the 5th generation, raised on our family's homestead, walking the same land my great-great-grandparents did. I've grown up knowing what it means to work the land, to feed a family from what we raise, to take care of what has been entrusted to us. But this kind of wealth, it's something anyone can start building, no matter where you are. You don't need a farm to pass on wisdom. You just need a willingness to learn, to create, to teach. Generational wealth is about making sure our children inherit more than just things. It's about giving them a foundation of wisdom and patience and resourcefulness, a home filled with home-cooked meals, books well read, tools well used. These things shape a life. Our ancestors built something lasting, not just for themselves, but for the future. They planted trees they would never sit under and taught skills they knew would outlive them, and made sacrifices so their children could thrive. And now it's our turn to do the same. The wealth we build today isn't measured in bank accounts or stock portfolios. It's measured in the hands that know how to work, in minds that know how to think, in hearts that know the value of patience and perseverance. When we pass on these things, we are giving our children something money could never buy: a legacy of resilience, of stewardship, of true abundance. That is real generational wealth. The greatest wealth isn't just in what we build, it's in what we pass down. If we don't teach the next generation to value these things, to take them to heart, then all of it fades. The skills, the knowledge, the deep appreciation for hard work and self-sufficiency. These are the real treasures. But in a world that tells them these things don't matter, that convenience does, they risk being robbed of something far greater than money. If you don't know how to care for what lasts, they'll trade it in for what's disposable. If they don't see the value in land, in craftsmanship, and heirlooms, they'll let it slip away. But when we show them, when we invite them into the work, into the history, into the beauty of building something that outlives us, they begin to understand. They learn that true wealth isn't just inherited, it's cultivated. And when they take up that legacy, when they choose to carry it forward, that is how generational wealth truly lasts. There was a time when a single cut of meat was stretched as far as a family could make it go, not out of thriftiness alone, but out of wisdom. My great-grandmother knew how to take one roast and turn it into multiple meals without sacrificing nourishment or flavor. That knowledge was a lifeline then, and it's just as valuable today. In a world of fast food and instant gratification, we've forgotten the beauty of slow cooking, of using every part of what we have. But when we return to these old ways, we find something remarkable: simplicity, resourcefulness, and a deeper connection to the food we eat. It starts with a well-cooked roast, rich, tender, and full of flavor. The first meal is always a simple one, served with vegetables and homemade bread. But what's left over isn't waste, it's opportunity. The remaining meat is transformed into a hearty vegetable soup, nourishing and filling, perfect for a busy evening. And finally, the last bit is tucked into a flaky crust to become a comforting pot pie, ensuring nothing is wasted and every bite is enjoyed. This isn't just about saving money, though it certainly helps. It's about honoring the work that went into raising and preparing that food. It's about teaching our children that meals aren't just something we consume, they're something we create. It's about seeing food not as something disposable, but as a gift to be stewarded well. And when we accept that mindset, we begin to break free from the endless cycle of waste and excess that modern convenience has created. So much of what we talk about here is about slowing down, making intentional choices, and investing on what truly matters. Whether that's the food we put on our table, or the traditions we pass down, or the way we care for our own well-being. And part of that care is making sure our bodies are getting the rest and restoration that they need. The same way we steward our land, our homes, and our heritage, we have to steward our well-being. And sometimes that means tending to the little things, like the strain we put on our eyes every day. Whether it's hours spent in the garden, reading, or just the daily exposure to screens and artificial lights, our eyes carry more stress than we realize. As a nurse, I've learned firsthand how important it is to take care of your eyes. On a more personal note, a few years ago, I suffered from a corneal abrasion, which turned into a corneal ulcer. It took many, many months for this to heal, and it was painful. And this is something that I know would have helped with that fatigue and strain and exhaustion, and just the heat would have helped heal my eye even faster. The Bob and Brad Eye Oasis 2 eye massager combines gentle heat, compression, and cooling therapy to relieve eye strain, dry eyes, and tension headaches. Things so many of us deal with but rarely stop to address. Whether it's after long days in the garden, homeschooling the kids, or staring at a screen for hours, this massager is a game changer. The cooling gel mask helps with puffiness and redness, perfect after a windy day outside or late nights working on a project. The compression massage feels like a gentle kneading around the eyes, and the adjustable heat settings, they encourage circulation, ease fatigue, and offer the deep warmth that just melts away tension. It's like a warm compress, but better. Plus, it's quiet, designed with low noise technology so I can actually relax without distraction. Just 15 minutes before bed, and I sleep better. My eyes feel less strained, and I wake up feeling refreshed and ready to do it all again the next day. If you're looking for a way to add a little bit of restoration into your daily rhythm, this is a great place to start. I'll leave the link below so you can check it out for yourself. There was a time when preserving food wasn't a hobby, it was survival. My great-grandmother didn't can tomatoes because it was trendy. She did it because her family depended on that food to make it through the winter. And yet, somewhere along the way, we traded in this wisdom for convenience. Now, food preservation feels like a lost art. And it's an art worth reviving. Because knowing how to make food last, whether from your own garden, a local farmer, or even a good sale at the store, is one of the greatest forms of generational wealth we can pass on. Canning, freezing, fermenting, dehydrating, these are skills that belong to everyone, no matter where you live. You don't need acres of farmland to preserve food. You can start with a few jar of pickles from store-bought cucumbers, or freeze extra berries when they're in season. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Every bit of food you put away is one less meal you have to rely on a grocery store for. One step closer to self-sufficiency. Food security doesn't have to mean stockpiling from the store. It can mean learning how to store what we already have. A single chicken stretched into broth, soup, and gravy. A handful of herbs dried and stored to season meals long after the garden is gone. These small acts of preservation add up to something powerful. They give us control over what we eat, save money, and reconnect us to the rhythms of the seasons. If we let this knowledge slip away, we lose more than just a skill. We lose a way of living that sustains families for generations. This knowledge is what built generations before us. They understood the rhythms of planting and harvesting, of saving seeds for next season, of working with the land instead of against it. The greatest inheritance isn't cash, it's land itself, a piece of earth that feeds you, roots you, and holds stories that outlive you. When I walk this farm, I think about my great-grandparents raising 10 children on this land, working these fields with their bare hands. They were not rich. They worked hard for what they had, and they had very little, but they were able to sustain themselves. They planted trees whose shade they knew they would never sit under. They built fences knowing they would need to be mended by future generations. And they poured their lives into something that would last beyond them. My great-grandfather's hands have gripped the same tools still hanging on these walls. Tools that don't just carry rust, but stories. This barn has stood for well over 100 years. It has sheltered livestock through harsh winters and stored bales of hay stacked to the rafters. The beams here were cut and shaped by men who knew how to build things to last. Land isn't just an investment, it's a living, breathing legacy. A testament to the work of those who came before us and the responsibility we carry forward. And it doesn't have to be acres and acres. True wealth isn't measured in miles of fence line or in numbers of barns standing. It's measured in the way we care for what we have. It can be a backyard garden, a rental plot at a community farm, or even just one pot of tomatoes on a balcony. It's about learning to nurture the land, no matter how much of it is in our care. Stewardship starts small, with a handful of soil, with one heirloom seed, with a simple act of tending. Land, when stewarded well, gives more than it takes. It provides food security and the deep satisfaction of working alongside nature instead of against it. Owning even the smallest plot of earth is a way to step outside the consumer cycle and back into self-sufficiency. It reminds us that the real wealth isn't found in things that break or trends that fade. It's found in the soil beneath our feet and in the hands that care for it. And in a world where so much is temporary, having a piece of earth to nurture is one of the richest forms of wealth we can pass on. Learn a skill, cook one meal from scratch, grow something, Even if it's just herbs on a windowsill, invest in things that last, in knowledge that won't fade, in traditions worth passing down. Because true wealth isn't counted in dollars. It's in the hands that create, the hearts that nurture, and the legacy that endures. Maybe you weren't born into this life. Maybe you don't have a farm or old tools or land passed down. But you can start now. Wealth isn't about what you inherit. It's about what you choose to build, no matter where you are. Start where you are. Use what you have. Build something that lasts. Until next time, friend.